Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. This episode of Slam the Gavel is sponsored by CPS Protect Consulting Services. A child protective services case is one of the most frightening experiences for any parent. Don't face it alone. Face it with confidence with Urgent Assist by CPS Protect. You can have access to former CPS investigators to make sure you preserve your rights and protect your family. If you're facing CPS involvement and aren't sure where to turn, their child welfare consultants can help you. Visit cpsprotect.com/subscribe and enter the coupon code SLAMTHEGAVEL for 60% off your first year of Urgent Assist. And this is available in all 50 states. Also, all Texas parents, please file detailed complaints to complaints@house.texas.gov to attention Chairperson Andrew Murr, State Texas Representative. This is time-sensitive, urgent request. Also, CC yourselves in the email to keep a copy of the email for documentation purposes. Also, last announcement, Bradley's mother, Narcus Golan, passed away in the fall of 2022. He is autistic and needs structured routine and therapies he receives for his autism 6 days a week. However, Italy just entrusted Bradley to Italian social services. If he is ruled to go back, he will then face the next 3 to 4 years in the Italian foster care system where he can't speak or understand the language. He will then be taken away from the only family he has ever known. And we have Judge Ann Donnelly to thank for that. Please call Governor Hochul at 518-474-8390. That's Governor Hochul at 518-474-8390 to please keep Bradley here safe in these United States. Hashtag keep Bradley safe. And go to the site, pleasedoyourjob.com. We need 3,000 more signatures. That's pleasedoyourjob.com. And I have a brand new guest on. I'm very happy to have Jennifer Hankins Lundy on. She's a mother, daughter, a Christian conservative Republican, entrepreneur, and we're going to talk about judicial accountability. And I'm just so excited to have you on. How did you get into this? And tell us all about the Court of Appeal that went through.
Oh, I'm just so excited about what just happened. But how I got into it, I was I've worked for two different senators here in Texas. And I had a gentleman contact me when I was working for one of them and tell me about his case. And, unfortunately, the Senate doesn't really try to get into the judicial area. They're two separate branches of the government. So he informed me of everything that was going on. I listened and, told him I'll watch, but that was all I could do.
Mm-hmm.
Then the case moves on. Senators change. I was working for the next senator. He's asking me again to please come to his hearing. I still couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started working for a candidate who was running for state rep. And about this time, he was going to trial. And he asked me once again if I would come. He had sent me all of his information over the years. I knew exactly what his case was about. I knew what had happened. And so I asked her, and she said absolutely. She'd been a mayor for 16 years, and she knew that there were a lot of really serious issues with the judiciary. And she said, I demand you go. Of course, if I would have opted not to, she wouldn't have said anything. But the point is, she wanted me to be able to go to these hearings. So I went to two of them. Mm-hmm. Then, unfortunately, she lost her race, and I started working for the state rep who was in there. But the judge who was over that case called her and said, if Jennifer comes into my courtroom again, I'm going to make sure she doesn't work in this county ever again. Oh. And she said, well, she's actually working for the state rep now. And so he called him and said the same thing. I mulled it over for quite some time because I was still working for, the other side. But then probably about 6-7 months later, I got with her and we filed a report with the SCJC, the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, against this judge. Mm-hmm. I'll get into that in just a second because that's what really got me into this. Mm-hmm. But this particular case, in the meantime, the gentleman who'd asked me to come, he filed with the appeals court, and he won he got notice on Thursday that he won 5 years, maybe 5 or 6 years of going through this horrible situation. He did not get to see his son for 4 years. His son was sent out of state to school, and he did not get to see him. And that entire case was thrown out. The entire case. I am so thrilled for them. However, it's a travesty that happened to that child and to him. And I would like to see something change about that. Now, SCJC, whenever I got into looking at that, I discovered all of the horrendous things that are happening. They've had, in the last 20 years, they've had 27,000 reports. They have released 212 of them. That's less than 1% that we can see what judge did what. And I have a problem with that. So that's something that I'm taking up. I want all of those records released. We need to be able to see who's complaining. They need to be able to investigate and respond before it becomes public, because I know, judges are elected, and I know that people can be throwing things out and saying, oh, well, they have 15 complaints against them, but we need to know, they need to be able to respond to that. So that's one thing I'm kind of a stickler about. But that's one thing that we're trying to do. Another thing that we're trying to do, well, let me get back to, they've had 531 private warnings in their reports, 212 public, 531 private, and then you can't see anything else at all. But these private warnings, I just pulled one of them just to give you an example. And this was on April 20th, 2022, and you can look anything that I say up on their website. The judge failed to comply with the law, failed to maintain professional competence in the law, failed to accord parties and their counsel for the right to be heard according to the law, engaged in improper ex parte communications by improperly inquiring to the nature of the litigant's non-suit of a case, failing to allow attorneys to make offers of proof when appropriate, failing to allow attorneys to proffer objections during hearings when appropriate, and it goes on and on and on. And we have no idea who that was. So what good does that do anyone?
Right.
So those are the things that I have with them in particular. That needs to be released. Now, they only have 12 members of their staff, 12 members with all these complaints. That is not enough. So we do have to go to the legislature. We've got to get their revenue up so that they can hire more. And I don't care who complains about that. That has to be done, because it's not right what's going on, and they don't have enough people to be able to even be able to show us. I mean, you file a complaint with them, it may be 2 years before you get a response right now, which is understandable. And I did look at another state that had similar number of judges, and they had 49 on theirs, and we have 12. So that's another issue.
Yes.
So we want that, and then we also want audio and video in every courtroom. Now, there are a lot of people who want audio and video. I've been talking with our state reps. So far, everyone is either on board or will keep their mouth shut. Yeah. But most everyone is on board. The audio and video, there are people here who want it to be public no matter what, and I disagree with that. I think that everyone should be recorded, and I think whoever's case it is, they can then get their audio and video, and they can release it if they want, because I don't think everyone wants their stuff public.
Yeah.
But whenever I stated that to the reps, they are now going, well, that I can understand, and that is we can agree with that. It needs to be there, because I've heard over and over about a judge stating something, and then what actually comes out is totally different. And so we need to have that as backup. And I think both of those two things will really help our judges stay on track of where they're supposed to be.
I think also it all should be tamper proof. the audio and the video where the judge can't just mute a pro se litigant when he's tired of hearing them talk.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It needs to be recorded all the way through, no matter what happens.
Yeah. They can't touch anything or, corrupt it in any way.
Correct. Correct. We also want no in-camera hearings. Now, there are cases where there need to be, like if it's a minor child, they have their court reporter in there. It's supposed to all be written. But I have seen over and over that I say I'm a litigant. Doesn't matter plaintiff or defendant. The case is decided before you ever get up there. It's decided between the attorneys and the judge. I've seen it over and over. There's no question. So that needs to stop as well. They need to validate and publish all their rulings. I know in the criminal cases, they do have to do that, but in our family law cases, they do not. And I think that is vital. Yeah. And then my last thing is that judges need to be able to endorse, only not if they're going above, because then for obvious reasons, hey, I endorsed you, so you need to do whatever for me. That's not going to happen. But if they need to be endorsed down, because when you have a judge that's not acting right, the other judges can't talk about it. They just have to sit there and smile. And so I think that's important.
Do you think they should be having random drug testing and psychological evals at least every 2 years, as well as, I'm trying to think of it. I can't even think of it. The other test where they're testing to see if you're lying, lie detector test.
Oh, for the judges to take them?
Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't heard of that.
Well, only because, they're all in each other's pockets, or, in each other's business with the attorneys. The attorneys are, contributing to their daughter's judge campaign. And then to give the favor back, they're letting this could be a lousy attorney win and disrupt the life of a child.
Well, you don't even think about it. When you are suddenly faced with a case, you almost have to know what judge you're going to have. And then you need to go see who contributed to that judge and pick an attorney out of there. And you don't even think about that. And why should you think about that?
Mm-hmm.
So, your question, I think that'd be pretty costly. I'm not going to say it shouldn't be done, but I really believe if it's opened up to where we can actually see what is happening, that a lot of this will stop. Well, and it's got to stop.
It has to stop because, doctors, nurses, police, they all have to have at least random drug screens. And, these judges are playing with people's lives, and they have got to have psych evals, because I have seen several sociopaths in my time in the courts, and they need to be evaluated.
Well, there's something else that I'm a little troubled with. This case came out Thursday, and we've alerted the media in the county that it's in, and no one will pick it up. And I've heard from someone who's pretty high up and like, well, we don't really believe it. I'm like, well, you can believe this. You can believe this.
Yeah.
But I've had two other calls this week about that particular judge. This is not the only case. This is just the only man who was willing to, he makes pretty good money. And he has slept in one room in his house and rented out the rest of his house with nothing to be able to afford to get some justice. And most people can't do that. Most people, the one case that I've just got, she's wanting to file an appeal, but the judge, and it's Judge Quisenberry, and I don't mind saying that now, he is, for her to take it to appeals, he will then take the defendant's legal fees. She will have to pay those, plus she will have to pay all the appeals court. And she's sitting here going, I don't know if I can risk that. Oh. That's a lot of money. I don't know if I can risk that. But what he's done is clearly not okay. So, that's something else I need to add in there. You can't do that to people. You can tell them they'll have to pay the appeals court fees, absolutely, but not the other party's fees for the actual lawsuit.
It seems like this is just a great extortion scheme, especially when it comes into the family courts.
Yes. And
Um,
that was in family court.
mhm.
It's all some of it. I'm not gonna say it's all over, because I do believe that the criminal courts are a little stricter, but I'm not positive because I haven't gotten into that yet.
Well, I mean, I personally, this is just me, but I would like to see family court abolished and take everything down to civil court where a parent can have a 6-person jury, especially when, when you're in these family court battles, parents are calling out false accusations on the target parent multiple
Yeah.
times, and the judges can't see that this is BS. They just allow it.
They did just allow it, and there are some cases that the judge makes this decision before anything's ever done. He may know the person, especially if it's a smaller area. He may know them, and so then it doesn't matter what the other person says. He's not going to allow it. He's not going to listen to it, and it makes no difference. And that's just not okay.
Right. Right. Even when it comes to evidence, parents will have evidence. I took a case to federal court. The judge just didn't read the evidence and ruled it irrelevant. That's what they're all doing to all these parents.
Yes, they are. So we've got to get this opened up. We got to get it opened up where complaints can be seen, and audio, video, and the SCJC. It's got to be opened up all the way, because I really do believe that judges will do the right thing if they're being watched. They're not being watched right now.
Well, I agree. There was one judge I've heard of, and it made the newspaper, that she was continuously screaming at litigants and their attorneys, and like a banshee. So she was reported for that. So they gave her a babysitter for 8 months to
And what did
monitor her behavior.
So what happened with that?
Well, the babysitter monitored her behavior, and then, I guess she was behaving herself better. But then, her son's an attorney, so she was filing motions for him, and she got zapped for that.
And is she still sitting?
She's still sitting. And prior to that, she got zapped for calling off hearings to get her hair and nails done.
Oh,
I mean, this is rampant.
It is. I've got one judge over in Tarrant County in Texas. He used electric shocks in court as punishment 3 times after a defendant failed to answer his questions properly. He's still sitting. It's outrageous.
Yes.
It's outrageous what's happening. We've got to be able to make changes.
And some of the changes are tied to these incentives, the Title IV B, D, and E. And this money scheme has got to get under control, or just get rid of it.
So it's my understanding, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, and this is just it's my belief so far. It could change if I get different information. When you have a divorce, or whether they're married or not, it's over a child. I think they're going to go with the person who makes the most money as the non-custodial parent to pay the child support, because they're getting $14 for every $1 that comes in. So the higher they can get that, the more money they make.
Exactly.
Now, am I correct on that?
You're correct on that.
Okay. So that's an issue as well. They're not going with the best parent for the child, or joint, 50-50. They're going with who's going to bring in the state the most money. And that's definitely a problem.
Right. I'm covering a case right now with Jim Schock. He has been on my podcast. Now this judge is allowing this. He's trying to get his son, because the son is living with an 8-count felon. Now the mother's living with this 8-count felon with this child, and he's already been slapped with some more child abuse charges. And the judge knows this. She did not remove custody like I would have done if I was a judge. And also, the attorney that's representing the mother is equally representing the father in another county in New York State.
He's representing the mother and the father.
Yeah, she can't
Okay.
be doing that.
No,
Uh,
I've got a case just like that that's going on right here that I've just gotten information on. I don't have all information, but sounds very, very similar to
yeah,
that.
that judge is Marianne Scataratico neighbor up in New York State, and she's a problem. The problem is you also have these attorneys that are perpetual liars. And this is why I think they should have psych evals every 2 years as well. Only because you're playing with people's lives.
Yes.
You know, unless we get rid of family court, I think there will be a massive change in a lot of this stuff.
I agree, and I know that they lie because they want to win, and they don't care. They don't care what they do to the other people. They don't. They want to win, and they want the money. And you know, the more cases you win, the more you can charge.
Right.
And there's so many different things involved with it. You know, the pro se, not the pro se, the ones that are for the child.
Oh, attorney for the child, AFC, or I don't know what the guardian ad litem.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Guardian ad. Yes. So I know there have been many cases here where they have guardian ad litem and they are making the usually the defendant pay in cash 100% of their charges. And you know, that's hard to do. I'm sorry. I don't care how much you make. That's hard to do. I think that's got to change as well, because they're not. I don't think that they're listening to what's happening. I think they just want the charge.
Oh yes.
So yeah, there are just so many changes, but I really think that doing these two things will open it up, and I'm praying they will. And I know that we just started this in. We just got our paperwork filed in February, and I just started speaking on it in May. Because I went to 3 judges before I ever started speaking. I wanted to make sure that what I was putting out was not just something in my mind. And I went to a county court at law judge and a district judge and an appellate judge. And they were all in agreement with what we're trying to do here. They are supporting what we're trying to do here because there are some good judges.
Yes.
I pray that even the bad judges will join and see what they're doing. But regardless, we need to see what they're doing. But this has been passed around to, I think, 6 different states now, just since I started it. If I can get this happening here, then I think we can spread it out all over. That's what I'm praying for, because it's absolutely ridiculous what's happening.
Right. Also, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say judiciary is supposed to be the smallest branch of government, and they are not.
No.
At all.
And another disturbing factor is that a judge will listen to whatever CPS says about any parent. And yeah, the thing is, for instance, go ahead.
But this case that I told you I was just on, I mean, that they've sent me information on, I don't have all the information. This judge was, he's against the people. CPS came out for the other side. They have multiple witnesses, and he dismissed all of them and sent them to another area because it wasn't what he wanted. And does that make sense the way I said that?
Yeah, if you don't get your result, you just move people around.
Yeah, he's not getting the result he wants. So he's moving to another area where he will get the result he wants.
Exactly.
He just made the decision a long time ago, and he's going to sculpt it to where it looks like he's in the right there, and he's not.
No, I mean, that's just so wrong, especially when there is collusion involved. Say you have an opposing attorney and you have a target parent, even though that target parent has an attorney. And as soon as you get into the courtroom in family court, this is generally what happens. They call out he or she's mentally ill and they're alienating the kids from me. And then they win. And they're abusing the term parental alienation.
100%. 100%. That's what they were calling in Rustin Wright's case, the one that just came out. They were saying he was doing that to the mother, and they sent the child away to another state. What is parental alienation then? I'm sorry, that
Right.
is so inaccurate.
Right.
And I have seen that over and over and over. The mother will keep the kids from the father because she's claiming that. Well, what she's doing is parental alienation.
Exactly. And I mean, that was done to me. And it's like, what the heck? The judge went along with it because there was collusion, because the judge and the opposing attorney worked in the DA's office for about 4 years together before he became a judge. So when you get your own way in court and you just run someone else into the ground, and the judge furthered the alienation by writing no contact orders via iPhone, landline, iPod, iPad, and would not let me see them on Mother's Day. So the judges are the ones perpetuating this alienation, which is creating personality disorders on these kids.
100% it is. I'm going to tell you one thing that we are contemplating doing, because we've had a gentleman who has offered, he's got a 5 or 6 bedroom home. He has offered it to us to house these parents who are obviously, there's not a lot of parents who can fit in that home, but to at least to get it started, to house parents who are going through this, who are being drained by the court system. And with this, though, we will be offering classes, a pro se litigant class, so they can learn exactly what they need to do without going through the expense of hiring an attorney. We have a court reporter who is willing to offer classes on how to use a court reporter. And we have another court reporter who's willing to actually, whenever they need to do depositions, they can hire her, and there'll be more who will join, I know, because I was a court reporter. And so I've got friends who are, but they can hire her, and they will know what to do and how to do it and how to keep it as short as possible. We are going to have financial classes, but they will have to take these classes to be able to stay there. And it will all be centered around trying to get their case as handled as easily as possible, because it's just outrageous what's going on.
Right. They're just being dragged out for the purpose of the attorneys to pull in their wages so they can go to Disneyland 5 times a year.
Absolutely.
What I've seen. I know recently in Texas, House Bill 969 was passed regarding custodial interference.
Okay. You'll have to, if I'd known that you were going to go over a
I'm
bill.
sorry.
Absolutely have studied it, but this session, I followed a few of them, but I was working on this so much. It's probably the first session I have not followed them.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay. Go ahead and tell me what it is.
Okay. Well, Claudia Ovias got this going, this House Bill 969 for custodial interference, which will hold parents accountable. If a judge writes an order and says, you get to see your kids Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday or whatever, and this other parent just does not make the kids available, then that they will get either fined or jailed for custodial interference. And then what piggybacked off that bill, I can't think of the numbers of the bill, 3205, I think. And that bill said that there's no statutes of limitation on going after that parent for custodial interference. So if 6 years ago your ex withheld your child and caused more parental alienation, then you can go after your ex for custodial interference.
So what was that bill number? Because I actually had a call yesterday about that exact thing.
Okay. Yeah, House Bill 969.
969. Okay, I will look that up.
We need it in every state. This is the problem. We need it in the state, every state, as well as the statutes removed so that parents can hold the other parent accountable. This is getting ridiculous with these personality disorders.
It is absolutely ridiculous. And I think we also need to find a way when a parent abuses something like that, that the parent who is filing against them does not have to pay $20,000. I'm just making up a
Right.
number, but to get that enforced.
Mhm.
we
Well, yeah, I mean, from what what I've learned from Claudio Valles is that there have been laws on the books for, we'll say, 40 years, but law enforcement doesn't know what to do with this. So with this bill, this is also going to train law enforcement that this is what you do when a parent is showing you a court order. They've got to go get that kid, hand that other parent a fine, or whatever the judge, I guess, rolls on if you don't hand the kid over. So that has to be done because law enforcement does not know what to do with these cases.
They do not. They tell them it's a civil case.
Yes.
They may file a report. This particular case I was just talking about, they did file a report, but the child at the moment is in another state, and it's the father's time with the child.
Right. In fact, I know of a case where the judge ordered time, but the father feels that cheerleading is more important. And there's not even a cheerleading class offered on the days that the mother is supposed to have the child. And that's custodial interference.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. The parents should be in agreement if they want their child in cheerleading, soccer, football, whatever. And if it's the other parent's day, then they should take them to practice. There's no question, but they need to be in agreement on it.
Right. Right. And the thing is, I don't know, with some of these personality disorders, you cannot co-parent with these people. They're very difficult to work with. They will not get psych evals even when ordered by a judge. And the judge doesn't enforce it. And this is what a lot of parents are telling me is that, well, he withheld the kids and, the judge just yelled at him in court, gave him a slap on the wrist, and they moved on to the next topic.
I don't get it or understand it. This has to be taken care of. We have to get people really upset, because you can look at the divorce rate. I would say it affects everyone, because even if you've been married to your spouse for 100 years, you've got children who have not, or your sister has not, or there's someone in your family who has gone through it, no matter who you are, where you are in the United States. So it affects everyone. We've got to get this taken care of. It's just ridiculous how they are treating us. And
the parents will say, well, the judges need to be educated. I'm saying, no, they know exactly what they're doing. They're running this well-oiled machinery to churn out more personality disorders that will be back in 20 years.
Yeah, no, they know what they're doing. We have to hold them accountable for what they're doing. That's where the problem lies. They are not held accountable at all.
Exactly. And what do you do? A judiciary overhaul? Because these were once lawyers. Then they put on the black robe, which is, well, I won't make that comment, but but I mean, so then now they're a judge, and then they become God over your case.
Well, here they are elected. I know there are some who are appointed, but in general, they are elected. And that's why it all needs to be open, because you can look at any other elected official and you can see exactly how they have, how they've lived their lives, what they have done in their service to us, but judges, and you can't see it. And we've got to make that open, because I really believe if we can see it, they will act right. Right.
The one judge that I have heard of out of Texas is Judge Janice Graham-Jacks. And I heard she's excellent. I don't know if you know of her. I've never interviewed her, but I've heard really good things about her and what she thinks about CPS.
Well, I would love to speak with her. There are several judges who are really good. Yeah. Well, you get her on and we'll get us both on.
Right. Yes.
There are several judges in Texas that I absolutely adore. Like I said, I've served the Senate, and so I know lots of judges. there are a lot of really good judges. So my thing is not about putting down judges. It's about the judges who are not doing right. We need to know what's happening, because they're elected officials, like I said. And if we know, then when their time is up, someone can run against them and we can get them out. The smaller counties are the worst, because the judge is over the entire county and no one will run against them, because they will slam them. They won't win any cases in court. It's awful. So it has got to be more open and accountable.
I agree. I don't know what to do or make of the collusion and conflict of interest issues, because parents will try to move the case to a different venue, and that costs a lot of money to even do that. One parent actually did that and moved it to another county and actually won their case because they couldn't do it in the previous county.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it has to be moved.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's a smaller town, everyone knows everyone, and
Right.
it just they can't always stay there.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I admire you for what you're doing. It's got to be stressful too, though.
Very, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think it's more heartbreaking than stressful,
Oh.
because I have people calling me about their case that's happening right now.
Mhm.
And I want to know about their case. And I'm actually gonna start I don't know, a podcast YouTube channel soon, because I want to get the case. I want to get their SCJC filing. I want to show that it was denied, because I know it was. And I just want to take each case and put them up like that. But I can't help what their case is right now. Now,
Right.
SCJC, I can tell you that it's so difficult right now to get anything through. Like, I have something that I feel like it will come out, but I'm not sure. And the reason why I'm not sure is because there was an appellate court judge. He was a retired appellate court judge, but he had served as an appellate court judge for 20 years. And then he was practicing, he was a lawyer after that. I mean, obviously he's a lawyer before that too, but he was a lawyer after that. And he filed a complaint against another appellate court judge, first complaint he'd ever filed, and it was denied. If an appellate court judge does not know how to file a complaint, how am I supposed to know how to file a complaint?
Oh.
Yeah, I was a court reporter. I'm not an attorney.
Right.
How do we know how to do that? We don't. So it's got to be open.
Mhm. Mhm. Parents have been trying to smuggle in, cell phones so they could record their hearings.
Yeah, which is
Because
great, but and you can use it. I've got a couple people have done that, and what is the judge is saying versus what they're putting out are totally different. But there's nothing you can use with that recording. That's why we want audio and video in there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just very important. I appreciate the fact that they're recording it, because that it helps the public know that it is necessary, but there's nothing they can actually do with it at this point other than let everyone know.
Mhm. Mhm. I had James Kelly on my podcast, and he is for cameras in the courts. He's really pushing that.
Yes.
And there's just so much corruption. It doesn't need to be this way. They don't need to make it this hard to drag out a divorce case for 7 years.
Mm-hmm. It's outrageous.
And I don't know if you heard of the Catherine Youssef Kasanoff case. I don't know if you heard of that one, because you're down in Texas.
Yeah, I've tried to focus just on Texas so far. I plan to expand my horizon,
Oh,
but we just started this, and so there's a whole lot to learn right here.
yeah.
But fill me in on it, because I'm
Yeah,
very interested.
yeah, you've got a huge state. That's the problem. Well, this took place up in Westchester, New York, and Catherine Youssef Kasanoff was a federal DOJ attorney, so she was no slouch. And she was married to an attorney from a very big law firm, Greenberg Traurig, not pronouncing that right. But he was very verbally abusive to her. She documented his behaviors extremely well on Facebook. And essentially, when, he comes from this big law firm, he overpowered whatever she had, and the judge just gave him the kids and alienated her again from the children. And he, if you saw these videos of him screaming and yelling, they're all over TikTok.
Mm.
I don't know what he does if he has too many cases that he has to deal with. Does he run down the hall screaming in his law firm? I don't understand, but he put her through so much legal abuse that she ended up with a third diagnosis of breast cancer that was terminal. So she went to Switzerland and ended it there.
Well,
Yeah.
awful. And you unfortunately see that pretty frequently with these cases. I've the people who've been contacting me, several of them have been on the verge of suicide.
Yeah.
All I can do is talk them through it and tell them we're fighting.
Right.
What happened to him is wrong. But all we can do is fight. So join us in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
It may not help your situation, but it will help someone else.
Right. Right. Like my case is over. I'm just trying to help people, learn things on this podcast and, try to make some sense of this stuff, because these judges, the ones that I dealt with, they're just running the courtroom, making up the rules as they go along.
Absolutely. And what I am starting with our legislature because I'm familiar with our legislature here. I do still have to get with the Supreme Court because this is twofold. And the governors who appoints the people over the SCJC, I'm going to have to talk with everyone I know. But I'm starting with the legislature to get some bills at least started for next session. But gosh, it's such a big job. And I'll be happy whenever I have a lot more people on my side who can actually help. They are coming. I've had an nonprofit law firm contact me. They are offering an attorney and they're offering a legislative director to help. I'll be talking with them next month, so that's a good thing.
Oh, good.
And then I've had several people who are volunteering because we want to reach out all over Texas. So far, I've just been in North Texas because that's where I live, but I want to get all over. I want to get people talking, saying what I'm saying. All over. It's just I've talked with the one of our parties, and they plan on trying to get it into our top 6 priorities for next session. I mean, it's got to be big. I do go big or go home.
Right.
So that's what we're going to do, because we have to make a huge yell and outcry because it's outrageous. It's outrageous what happened to her. It's outrageous what happened to you. And it's got to stop.
And it's just, so you've got to work with the legislator and then the Senate at the same time.
That's the House of Representatives and the Senate. Yeah, I'll have to work with all of them. I'm starting with the House of Representatives because I've got 5 of them right here next to me. Actually, I think I have 10 of them because I got one county over that has 5. If I can just get a few of them on board, then they will spread it. And everyone I've talked to has been totally in tune with what we're doing. And it's elections will be coming up soon, and we need them yelling for it. And I think they will. The Senate, I know a few of the senators, because I did work in the Senate, and I'll be approaching them next.
Wow, that's a lot of work. I wish you had more people with you, helping you If I lived down there, I'd be helping you. You know?
I know you would. Well, you know, the hard thing is, I don't have like a zillion dollars to do it with. So it's got to be at this point, people who are just willing to help. I think that, I applied for 501c3. And whenever that is approved, then I will definitely have some donations coming in that will allow me to hire some people to help. But right now it's just me and whoever wants to volunteer. But like I said, I've applied. We'll know probably within the next 4 months whether I get it. I've got a list of people who I actually believe will support us, and which will be good when it happens. Until then, I'm just going to keep on yelling myself.
Oh yeah, me too. And
you do, and I appreciate the fact that you reached out to me.
well, I appreciate that you came on. I didn't mean to spring House Bill 969. I probably should have told you. I'm so sorry, but that it recently passed. I should have said that to you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm glad that you mentioned it today because I've already written it down and I'm be looking it up and I'm going to be passing it out because that's a really important thing. 100%. I should have followed in this session, but I just had so much to do with this.
That's okay. Now, do you think family court should be abolished?
That's hard to say because most cases absolutely should not have to go through what they're going through. There are some cases where I think it would take someone stating what can be done because we know that there are abuse cases. We don't like to admit it, but there are. And I think they treat everything as though it's an abuse case, and it's not. So I don't have a definite opinion on that at this point.
I don't know. Me personally, I would like to see CPS abolished and have something else installed in their place where you have educated caseworkers.
So I have someone who has contacted me, and she is, and I think that she mentioned your name, so I think that you have talked with her. Reedy Shakur.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
She has, she wants me to get with her on something that's a truth and consequences thing, in place of CPS. And it sounded amazing from what she told me. And I would 100% support that. And I would 100% get on board with her, to get something like that going, because it did sound much, it sounded great because CPS is ridiculous with how they treat children. I know that I can't say I know. I have been contacted by quite a few people who have CPS cases, and they are claiming that that they are taking their children for no reason other than money. They get paid. The people who are housing these children are getting paid, and so I'm kind of looking into that. I mean, that's a really disturbing aspect of it, and I do like what she's got going on because I think it would make things a lot easier than putting these families and these children through this.
Oh, definitely. They are out of control where they think they can just come into your home and tell your kid to pack up a garbage bag, put everything in a garbage bag, then what, you're going to sleep at their office because there's no foster home where worse things are going to happen to them.
Well, and they're gone for what, a month before they decide, oh, there really wasn't anything happening. And then it is traumatized for life. And I'm going to tell you what, my mother was a CPS worker. She and I've talked about this a lot. And she's like, there were many times there were cases where the child should have been removed from the home. The judge wasn't willing to do that, and the child died. So you've got both ends of it, but it's a mess, 100% a mess.
Or there's collusion there too, because if you have a parent that's well connected in, say, the police, department or the fire department or whatever department in the city, they can get away with any type of abuse.
Yep.
For instance, I'm trying to think of the case, Gabriel Fernandez, but there was another case. Like, oh, it escapes me now. But that I just think that CPS caseworkers have to have a degree in child psychology for child psychological abuse as well. We know
And
there's physical and sexual, but they have to know about child psychological abuse.
absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
And they're not intelligent enough to know that right now because they've hired too many inept people that perhaps have a degree in child development. That's not going to help us.
No, I'm sorry. It doesn't take a lot to get a degree. I mean, it takes time,
Yeah,
but that's it. Time and money.
right. And then there's, I won't keep you much longer, but there's the retaliation issue. If a parent, say for instance, gets involved in a CPS case and it's wrong, and they contact, say, the governor or reach out to a representative, and then they're slapped with another indication of whatever it could be just to get even with them for calling in for help.
And that's a problem as well. 100%. I mean, I know anytime I have an issue that's serious like that, I call my representative. I mean, that's what they're there for.
Right.
That we need to have people to call. That's the thing that bothers me more than anything is here I am, should know everything about it. And I didn't even know about SCJC, for example. There are just so many things that you're not aware of until you are in it. And then you have to have a really quick education, and you're not going to get the full education. And it's so disturbing. You need to have people who know what they're doing, and as quickly as something happens, they need to be able to come in and explain everything.
Exactly. And you're going to think I'm stupid, but SCJC is State Commission on Judicial Conduct, right?
Yes.
Okay.
See, you're not stupid. You got it.
I was Googling it. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because parents, need to have hope that this is going to change. This is eventually these, to have a divorce going for 4 to 7 years it's got to be, within 3 months you should be divorced, and everyone get their co-parenting skills together.
Yes.
And
yes, and we need courses on that, on how to do that, how to make it easiest on the child. That's the number one thing,
right.
But it also needs to be easy on the parents, because it's so stressful, and it doesn't have to be at all. I am divorced, and I had 2 children, and if my ex-husband wanted to come see the children, he came and saw the children. He took the children. It doesn't have to be that way. That I don't think even when you say you have 1 week here and 1 week here and 1 week here, we didn't have a problem with that, because we were not mean to each other.
Right.
It's my birthday, I have them. It's his birthday, he has them. I mean,
Right.
it's the way it just should be. So I don't understand why all that tension. And I think if we had courses where people could really understand, it's about the child, not about you.
And there should also be something written in the divorce paperwork that if, you could be co-parenting very well, but if you get a third party inserting himself or herself in your co-parent relationship and then disrupting the kids' lives, then you're getting hauled into family court, whether you like it or not.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't even thought about that, but I think if you're going to marry someone with children, you should also have to be in that same class.
Right.
Everyone understands it's about the kids, not about you.
Right. And I have seen parents that can co-parent well, but they're not personality disorders.
Right.
When I met my current husband, I said, look, don't discipline my kids. I'll discipline them. If they diss you or something, you come to me and I'll handle them. The most you can say is go listen to your mother. That's
Yes.
about all you can do with them. So, but they all love him, you know,
Yeah.
and I would never deny, my ex when we were co-parenting well, or even after when we weren't. I would never deny the grandparent to see the kids either.
No,
In fact,
absolutely not.
yeah, I frequently called upon his mother because I was a nurse. I was a per diem nurse, and sometimes if they needed help in ICU, and I had the kids, I'd say, "Hey, can you take the kids for 6 hours if they need help in there?" And she was happy to do it, and, it just, if people could work together without the personality issues.
Mm-hmm. Personalities need to go out the door.
Right.
It is all about raising these children right. Otherwise, it's a perpetual wheel of hostility. The
Yes.
children grow up angry, and it never stops.
And
So
oh,
I pray
exactly.
we can get that fixed.
Right. 'Cause, Dr. Roseman, I've had him on, and he said this will take it will actually go through 6 generations to fix it. And I think if at all.
But you know what? If we can get it started, then we've done something, and you get the next generation to keep going. We
Mhm.
may not be here to see it, but we know we've done it.
Exactly, exactly. Now, I mean, I don't wanna keep you too much longer, but,
Mm.
is there anything else you'd like to add?
Um, I just want everyone to know what we're trying to do here.
Mhm,
I think it's very important that and unless there is something else I have not seen, but I know that we have had all these 50-50 parents, parenting groups and all of that who have started from the bottom up. I feel like I'm starting from the top down.
mhm,
No one had looked at that before. So I certainly have a lot of eyebrows going up saying this may work.
mhm.
So I just want support. I want people, talking about it all over. And I pray that we can get something going here.
I'm so glad I met you.
Well, I'm glad I met you too.
Yeah, and I'd like to have you back on, whenever you have updates or anything you want to share, by all means, contact me and I will get you back on because this is such an important topic. People don't realize it until they get hauled into it.
Right. And that's the thing. I want people involved whether they have experience in it or not, because if they don't have experience yet, they will.
Yeah, that's a sad fact. That
Hmm.
is. Yeah, how can people reach you if they have any questions?
Well, you can reach me at info at Texans for Judicial Accountability.org. You can even call me. It's my cell phone, 817-757-6839. Texting is best because then I can see who's calling and then I can respond because can't always answer a call.
Mhm.
Um, but I try to answer every text that comes through. Um, that those are the best ways.
Excellent.
I do have a Facebook page,
Mhm.
Texans for Judicial Accountability. Join it. I'm putting up all of the non the 500 and something things that have come through. I forgot what it's called now. The ones that just have the issue, but they don't say who the judge is. I'm trying to get all those up. Anyone can go to their website and see. I'm pulling them straight from there, but
Yeah.
they just, they didn't know. I didn't know. But I'm trying to get all of those up, and then anything that comes through, I may put up, and I try to put talks up. So if I can get this on there, I'll put it on there.
Okay.
Um, so
Definitely. Yeah, parents have pages out on Facebook on
yes,
certain judges. Uh,
right.
and one of them that I saw was The Nightmare of Judge Denise Brown in Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah, check that one out.
I will check that one out. There are so many, and I've had people here saying they're wanting to get me with this judge, that judge. That I'm like, I appreciate that, and I want every judge on board. But there are so many judges in Texas, or so many judges in the United States. There's no way I can talk with all of them. I want
Right.
them all to support. Um, and I'll talk with whoever I can run across. But my point is to go above. We've got to get it taken care of above. And I think they will all be in agreement. I hope they will all support. I think that they will. And I'm just doing everything I can.
And it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I think it will. I
So
really do.
Don't jump off. Okay.
I'm staying right here.
Oh, good. Slam the Gavel's a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms that in turn perpetuate parental alienation. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again here with Jennifer Hankins Lundy in the future, because she's coming back on, and other exciting guests. Thank you again so very much.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate having a few minutes with you.
I appreciate you more.